I still remember the way the coffee shop smelled that afternoon, warm, slightly bitter, with hints of caramel and cinnamon from the pastries on display. I had just slid into my favorite corner seat, hoping for a quiet escape after a long day, when Jenna appeared. She was impossible to miss, tall, confident, with a mischievous glint in her eyes that had both captivated and unnerved me for years. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes entirely. There was a tension there, a restlessness I hadn't seen before. "Hey," she said softly, sliding into the seat across from me. Her fingers drummed nervously on the table. "Thanks for coming." I raised an eyebrow, sensing that something unusual was about to unfold. Jenna and I had been friends for over a decade, and we shared everything, or at least, I thought we did. But the urgency in her voice, the slight tremor in her hands, hinted at a secret she hadn't dared share before. "What's going on?" I asked cautiously, leaning forward. She hesitated, biting her lower lip, and then whispered, "I need you to do something for me. Something complicated." The words hit me like a jolt of electricity. My heart skipped. "Complicated how?" I asked, though part of me feared I already knew the answer. Her gaze flitted to the window, as if the bustling street outside held invisible ears. "It's about Alex," she said finally, and my stomach lurched. Alex, her husband, the man everyone thought had the perfect marriage with Jenna. The thought of her involving me in anything related to him sent a ripple of anxiety through me. "I don't understand," I said slowly, trying to mask my unease. "What exactly do you want me to do?" Jenna leaned closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "I need you to help me meet someone. Someone I shouldn't. I can't do this alone." I froze, disbelief tightening my chest. Her request was unthinkable. It crossed lines I had never imagined crossing with anyone, let alone a friend I trusted implicitly. "Jenna, this is insane," I said, though my voice betrayed the flicker of curiosity I couldn't quite suppress. "You're married. Alex, you can't." "I know," she interrupted, urgency mingling with desperation. "I'm not asking because it's easy. I'm asking because I'm trapped, and you're the only person I trust to help me navigate this without judgment." Her words hung in the air, heavy and impossible to ignore. The coffee shop's hum seemed distant, as though the world had shrunk to just the two of us and the secret that threatened to shatter everything. I wanted to say no. I should have. But as I stared into her pleading eyes, I realized that whatever path we were about to embark on, nothing would ever feel the same again. And in that moment, I knew, the choice I made next could change everything: our friendship, her marriage, and perhaps even my own sense of who I was. Jenna had always been the fire to my calm, the risk-taker to my measured caution. We met during our first year at university, thrown together by a shared love of late-night coffee and reckless laughter. Over the years, we had built a friendship that felt unbreakable, our lives intertwining in ways only decades of trust could weave. But that afternoon, the familiar warmth between us was laced with something darker, something urgent that I couldn't yet name. She spoke cautiously, her fingers twisting the edge of her sleeve as if anchoring herself to reality. "You know Alex, right?" she asked, and I nodded, already aware of the tension that often lingered in her voice when she mentioned him. "I love him. I do. But it's not enough anymore. I can't explain it, but I feel empty. And now there's someone else. Someone who makes me feel alive again." Her confession hit me in waves. I had always believed Jenna's life with Alex was the epitome of stability. Their photos at family gatherings, their smiles on social media, the easy banter she shared over dinner, everything suggested harmony. Yet here she was, unraveling before me, revealing the quiet ache that no one else had seen. I tried to process it, my mind racing. "Jenna, are you saying you want to cheat? You want me to help you?" My voice was sharper than I intended. I could feel the line between judgment and concern blurring. I don't know what I want exactly," she admitted, eyes glistening. "I just know I can't keep pretending. Alex deserves the truth, but I'm terrified. And I need someone I trust. Someone who won't hate me for feeling this way." The coffee between us had gone cold, but neither of us noticed. The world outside continued its rhythm, strangers laughing, baristas calling out orders, but inside this small corner of the cafe, time slowed. I felt the weight of her vulnerability pressing down, mingling with my own confusion. Her story revealed more than a fleeting attraction. It was years of unspoken longing, unmet needs, and silent compromise. The Jenna I had admired for her confidence now seemed fragile, fractured, a woman caught between duty and desire. I sat back, taking in her face, the furrowed brow, the trembling lips, the raw honesty. For the first time, I understood that this wasn't just about an affair, it was about a life teetering on the edge, a marriage built on appearances rather than truth. "I don't know how to help you," I murmured, more to myself than to her. "But I hear you. I hear everything you're saying." Her shoulders sagged slightly, a mixture of relief and lingering fear. "That's all I need for now," she whispered. "Just, don't let anyone else know. Please." I nodded, though inside I felt the gravity of what she was asking. Helping Jenna meant stepping into a moral grey I had never dared enter before. Yet something told me that saying nothing or doing nothing was no longer an option. And as I walked home that evening, my mind replaying every word, I realized that the choice we faced was only the beginning. The path ahead was tangled, dangerous, and irrevocably life-changing. The days that followed were a whirlwind of whispered messages and tense phone calls. Jenna didn't reach out for casual conversation anymore. Every interaction carried weight, a quiet urgency that pressed against my conscience. She began to confide in me details I had never imagined hearing about Alex's absences, the cold silences that had crept between them, and the way her own desires had quietly festered into a storm she could no longer contain. One evening, she called me, voice trembling. "I need you to help me see him. Just once. I can't do it alone." "Jenna, this is dangerous," I said, my heart pounding. "You're talking about betrayal on a scale I don't even know how to measure. I can't be part of that." "I'm begging you," she whispered. "I wouldn't ask if I had anyone else. You're my only friend who understands me." I wanted to hang up, to escape the moral quagmire she was dragging me into, but a part of me, the part that had always admired her courage, her relentless pursuit of truth, even in her own life, hesitated. I found myself agreeing to meet her, if only to understand the gravity of what she was asking. When I arrived at her apartment that night, the city outside glistened under a soft drizzle. The scent of rain mixed with vanilla candles, a strange juxtaposition of calm and tension. Jenna was waiting by the window, silhouetted against the dim light, her posture taut, eyes searching mine. "I can't do this without you," she said. "I feel like I'm about to make the biggest mistake of my life, but I need to know what it's like to feel alive again." I watched her, heart heavy. Her words were both a confession and a plea, a delicate balancing act between desperation and longing. And yet, lurking beneath her honesty, I sensed another layer: fear of being caught, fear of losing everything she had carefully constructed, fear of facing the truth of her own unhappiness. "You're asking me to cross a line I've never crossed," I said quietly. "Once we step over it, nothing can undo it." "I know," she replied, a whisper of a smile touching her lips. "But some things, some truths, can't wait forever." The air between us was taut, every second laden with unspoken understanding. I realized that helping her wasn't just about complicity, it was about witnessing the unraveling of a life, the fragile threads of trust and loyalty fraying in real time. I left her apartment that night with a knot in my stomach, questioning not only her choices but my own. How far could I go to protect a friend? And at what cost? The answer wasn't clear, but one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same. It happened on a rainy evening that blurred the city lights into streaks of gold and silver. I found myself once again at Jenna's apartment, the tension between us thick enough to cut with a knife. She had called me earlier, voice strained, almost pleading, asking me to come immediately. Something had changed, her urgency was different this time, heavier, more fragile. "I have to show you something," she said, leading me to the bedroom, her hands trembling. She opened a small envelope and carefully pulled out its contents. My heart sank as I recognized photographs, screenshots, and text messages, evidence of Alex's infidelity. Months of betrayal laid bare, hidden behind the polished mask of the perfect marriage everyone envied. Jenna's voice quavered as she explained. "I found out by accident, and I couldn't stop myself from looking. I didn't want to see it, But I had to know the truth. I stared at the images, at the messages Alex had thought were private. The disbelief was immediate, visceral, a punch to the gut. The man she loved, the one she had trusted implicitly, had been living a double life. And suddenly, everything made sense: the restless nights, the hollow laughs, the invisible distance that had grown between them. I had no idea, I whispered, my own voice sounding fragile in the quiet room. I know, Jenna replied softly, tears rolling down her cheeks. I wanted to believe it wasn't true. I wanted to trust him. But now I have to decide what to do. Her anguish was raw, unfiltered. She wasn't seeking revenge, nor was she pursuing a mere fling. She was standing on the edge of a precipice, grappling with betrayal, longing, and the desperate need to reclaim herself. Every word she spoke carried the weight of months of suppressed pain, every glance a testament to the conflict raging inside her. I realized then that her request from weeks ago, the one that had shocked me so profoundly, was not about temptation or thrill. It was about survival. She had been carrying this secret alone, and my role was no longer just as a friend. I was now a witness, a confidant, a lifeline. I don't know what comes next, she admitted, voice barely above a whisper. But I know I can't go back to pretending everything is fine. We sat in silence, listening to the rain tapping against the window, each lost in our own thoughts. The revelation had shattered the fragile illusion of their marriage, but it had also brought clarity. She had the truth now, and with it, the power to make choices untainted by lies. And in that moment, I understood the enormity of trust, the fragility of love, and the courage it takes to confront the deepest betrayals. Whatever path Jenna chose, I knew one thing: our lives would never be the same again. The days after the revelation were heavy, yet strangely clarifying. Jenna confronted Alex, demanding honesty with a quiet strength that surprised even her. The confrontation was messy, filled with tears, raised voices, and long silences, but it was necessary. For the first time in months, she refused to hide behind politeness or fear, and in doing so, she reclaimed a piece of herself that had been buried under years of compromise. I stayed nearby, not as a participant but as a witness, offering quiet support when she faltered and listening when words failed. It wasn't my choice to fix things, it was only my responsibility to stand by her as she navigated the storm she had carried alone for so long. Watching her face the consequences of betrayal, I realized how delicate trust truly is, and how courage often comes disguised as pain. Jenna's decision was not instantaneous, nor was it easy. She chose honesty over comfort, clarity over illusion, and freedom over pretense. The path ahead remained uncertain, filled with difficult conversations and emotional labor, but it was authentic. And authenticity, I realized, is worth the ache it leaves behind. As for me, the experience shifted something fundamental. I had entered the situation with a mixture of shock, judgment, and curiosity, but I emerged with empathy and understanding I hadn't anticipated. Friendship, I discovered, isn't about condoning actions, it's about witnessing the truth, holding space for vulnerability, and sometimes navigating the uncomfortable gray areas of morality alongside those we care about. I thought about the nights spent in whispered strategy, the tension in her calls, the hesitation in her pleas. Every moment had tested my convictions, but it also strengthened my bond with Jenna. The relationship we had built over years of laughter and trust had been tempered by fire, and in the end, it endured, not unscathed, but resilient. Walking home one evening, I reflected on the rain-streaked city lights, the same way I had on the night of the revelation. Life rarely offers neat resolutions. People we love can betray us, just as we can be complicit in their mistakes. But it is in these messy, complicated moments that human connection reveals its truest form, when we see each other not only for who we want them to be, but for who they truly are, with all their flaws and fears. Jenna's request had stunned me, frightened me, and forced me to confront my own limits of loyalty. Yet in the aftermath, I understood something vital. Courage is not the absence of fear, and love is not the absence of pain. Both demand honesty, both demand risk, and both, when faced with integrity, can transform lives. And as I think back to that rainy evening, to the envelope that shattered illusions and illuminated truths, I realize that life is rarely perfect, but it is always worth navigating with empathy, courage, and an unwavering commitment to see the people we love for who they really are.